I woke up to the sound of someone in my house. I didn't know it at the time. My eyes were closed. My brain was still half asleep. I heard soft footsteps, the rustle of fabric, the quiet creak of the floorboards near the front door. I thought it was my girlfriend. She had to leave early for work sometimes. I figured she was getting her things together, maybe grabbing a jacket, checking her bag. I heard her walk across the room, felt her lean over me for a few seconds, felt her presence close to my face. Then she walked away. I rolled over and went back to sleep. I should back up. We lived in a small house in a quiet neighborhood. Nothing fancy. A two-bedroom with a front door that opened directly into the living room. The sofa was against the far wall, maybe 15 feet from the door. That night, I'd fallen asleep watching TV. My girlfriend had gone to bed around 11. I'd stretched out on the sofa, pulled a blanket over myself, and drifted off. I didn't lock the front door. I never locked the front door. We lived in a safe neighborhood. Nothing ever happened. That's what I told myself. I don't know what woke me. Some sound, maybe. A creak, a scrape, something out of place. I was in that half-sleep state where your brain isn't really awake, but it's not really asleep either. I heard footsteps. Soft, deliberate, someone trying to be quiet. My brain filled in the gaps. Girlfriend, early shift, getting her things. I heard bags rustling, coats being moved, the soft clink of keys. Then footsteps crossed the room. They came close to the sofa. I felt someone lean over me. I felt warmth. I felt breath. I didn't open my eyes. I was too tired, too comfortable. My brain told me it was her, saying goodbye, checking if I was okay. She stayed there for maybe 5 seconds. Then she walked away. I rolled over and went back to sleep. The next thing I remember is cold. A breeze was blowing across my face. Strong, persistent. It cut through the blanket, through my clothes, through my half-sleep. I opened my eyes. The front door was wide open. I sat up, confused. Maybe she'd left it open when she went out. Maybe it hadn't latched properly. I stood up, walked to the door, and glanced at the clock on my way. 3 a.m. I froze. Her shift didn't start until 8. She never left before 7. And even if she had, why would she leave the door open? Why would she leave without waking me, without saying anything? I looked around the room. Her jacket was still on the hook by the door. Her keys were on the table. Her bag was on the chair. She hadn't left. She'd been upstairs, asleep. The person who walked through my house at 3 a.m., the person who moved my things, who stood over me, who breathed on my face while I lay there with my eyes closed, that wasn't my girlfriend. My heart started pounding. My hands were shaking. I locked the door and stood there, trying to make sense of what had happened. Someone had been in my house. Someone had walked past my sleeping body, touched my things, stood inches from my face, and then they'd left. I checked the house. Every room, every closet, every corner. I grabbed a knife from the kitchen and moved through the house with my back to the wall, flipping on every light. Nothing, no one. I checked the front door again. The lock was intact, no sign of forced entry. I hadn't locked it. I never locked it. Someone had simply walked in, walked around, walked over to where I was sleeping, and then walked out. I didn't sleep for the rest of the night. I sat in the kitchen with the lights on, listening to the house settle, jumping at every creak. When my girlfriend came down at 7, I told her what happened. She didn't believe me at first, thought I'd had a nightmare, but then she saw my face, the way I was shaking, the way I kept looking at the door. We checked the house together. Nothing was missing, nothing was moved. Whoever it was hadn't taken anything. They'd just come in, looked around, stood over me, left. I don't know what they wanted. I don't know why they chose our house. I don't know why they left. But I know they were there. I know I felt them lean over me. I know I heard them breathe. And I know that if I'd opened my eyes, I would have seen them, inches from my face, in the dark, in my own home. I lock the door every night now, every single night. I check it before I go to bed. I check it again when I wake up. And I never sleep on the sofa anymore.
Story 2. My son was 6 years old when he told me there was a dead man standing in the corner of the room. He didn't know about the murder. No one told him. We don't talk about it. We never talk about it. But he pointed to the exact spot where my wife's grandfather was killed 30 years ago. In that room, in that corner. And he said, they don't move much. My wife's family comes from a small town. The kind where everyone knows everyone. The kind where secrets don't stay buried. Her grandfather was murdered in his bedroom, upstairs, in the house where her parents still live. Someone killed him, and no one was ever held accountable. There was a trial I attended. I saw the crime scene photos. I saw where his body was found. I saw the blood. I saw the corner of the room where he died. That room became storage. No one used it. For 20 years it sat there. Boxes, old furniture, dust. The family didn't talk about it. They didn't talk about him. They just closed the door and left it closed. My wife grew up in that house. She never told me anything strange happened. No cold spots. No voices. No figures in the dark. But she also never went into that room. None of them did. It wasn't forbidden. It just wasn't a place you went. When we got engaged, I attended the murder trial. I sat in the courtroom, watched the proceedings, saw the evidence. I saw photos of the room where he died. I memorized the layout, the window, the bed, the corner. I never told my wife what I saw. She didn't want to know. Years passed. We had 2 kids, a boy and a girl. My wife's parents wanted to make the house more welcoming for the grandkids. My father-in-law decided to turn the murder room into a playroom, a hangout, a place for the kids to sleep when the family was together. He put in sleeping bags, a TV, toys. He wanted all the grandkids to stay in there together. No one in the family objected, not out loud, but I saw the looks, the hesitation, the silence. I saw. We didn't want our kids in that room, but we didn't say anything. It wasn't our place. We were the first to arrive for the holiday gathering. My son was 6, curious, energetic, the kind of kid who can't sit still for more than 5 minutes. He found the new room, the one with the TV, the one with the sleeping bags. He went inside, alone. I didn't think anything of it. Kids explore. It's what they do. An hour passed, then 2. I realized I hadn't seen him come down. That wasn't like him. He couldn't sit still. He couldn't stay in one place. But he was still up there. I went to check on him. He was sitting on the floor, cross-legged, staring at the TV. His back was straight. His hands were in his lap. He wasn't moving. I'd never seen him sit like that. I'd never seen him so still. "Hey, buddy," I said. "Everything okay up here?" "Yeah, okay. Have fun." I turned to leave. "Daddy?" I stopped. Something in his voice, not scared, just different. "Do I have to sleep in here?" "I don't want to." "Why not?" He didn't look at me. His eyes stayed on the TV. I'm not alone. Every hair on my body stood up. "Well, yeah," I said, forcing my voice to stay calm. "I'm here with you, buddy." "No." He shook his head. "There is someone in here with us." I looked around the room, empty. Just the 2 of us. "What do you mean, someone? Are they nice? Mean? A grown-up? A kid?" "A grown-up. What are they doing right now?" He paused. His eyes didn't move from the screen. "They are watching you." My heart was pounding. I tried to keep my voice steady. "You've been here a lot. You've never said anything like this before." He nodded. "They don't leave this room. I've never been in here before." I looked at the corner of the room, the corner where the body was found, the corner I'd seen in the crime scene photos, the corner where my wife's grandfather was murdered. "Where are they now?" I asked. Without looking away from the TV, my son raised his hand. He pointed to the far corner, the corner where the blood was, the corner where he died. "They're standing over there," he said. "They don't move much." I picked him up, carried him out of the room. I didn't look back. He never slept in that room. None of the kids did. My father-in-law never asked why. My son never mentioned it again. I don't think he remembers. He was 6. Kids forget. But I remember. I remember the way he sat, still, rigid, like he was afraid to move. I remember his voice, calm, matter of fact, like he was telling me the weather. I remember where he pointed, the exact corner, the corner I'd seen in the photos, the corner I'd never told him about. He didn't know about the murder. He didn't know about his great-grandfather. He didn't know that a man died in that room, in that corner, 30 years ago. But something in that room knew him, and it was watching me.
Story 3. I'm 47 years old. I've lived a full life. I have children of my own. I've been to the ocean, to lakes, to pools. I'm not afraid of the water. But there's a feeling I can't forget. A feeling that comes back to me sometimes, in the middle of the night, when I can't sleep. A feeling I've carried with me for 40 years. Hair, flowing between my toes, underwater. This happened in South Georgia. There was a place there, a man-made lake, a family park. Someone had dug out a big pond, brought in tons of beach sand, planted palm trees around it. They charged admission. Families would come for the day, park their cars, grill hamburgers, swim. It was the kind of place that wouldn't exist today. Too dangerous, too unregulated. They had a water slide that kids got hurt on all the time. Rusted metal, sharp edges, no lifeguards. Just a guy taking money at the gate and letting people figure it out. But in the 1980s, it was paradise. Beach sand, warm water, palm trees in Georgia. It felt like a vacation without leaving the state. Where my family parked, there was a little island maybe 30 yards from shore. Just a clump of sand, barely big enough for a few people to stand on. But it was something, a destination, a place to swim to. I was 7 or 8, not a strong swimmer, but the water was only a little deeper than my head. I could bounce along the bottom, push off, come up for air, bounce again. It was how kids swam before they learned proper strokes. That day, I was bouncing out to the island. My family was on the shore. My mom was setting up chairs. My dad was firing up the grill. I was on my own, doing my little bounce swim, feet finding the bottom, pushing up, breathing, going down again. And then my foot came down on something that wasn't sand. I felt a face. I know that now. I know what it was. But at the time, I was a kid. I didn't understand what I was feeling. My toes pressed into skin. I felt the ridge of a nose, the curve of a cheek. And then I felt hair. Long hair, fine hair, flowing in the water, wrapping around my toes, slipping between them. I freaked out. I pushed off as hard as I could, surfaced, and swam for the shore. Not the island. Back. I scrambled out of the water and sat on the sand, my heart pounding, trying to understand what had just happened. I didn't tell anyone. I was a kid. I didn't have the words. I didn't know what I'd felt. I just knew it scared me, and I didn't want to go back in the water. I sat on the shore for a while. I don't know how long. Long enough for my mom to notice I wasn't swimming anymore. She asked if I was okay. I said yes. She went back to her chair. Then I heard the shouting. A woman's voice. Then a man's. They were calling a name. I don't remember the name. I just remember the sound of it, echoing across the water, getting more frantic each time. Tommy, Tommy, where are you? Other people started looking. Parents pulled their kids out of the water. People walked along the shore, scanning the surface. The shouting spread. More voices, more names, but the same name, mostly. The same boy. I sat on the sand and watched. They found him in front of the island. The same stretch of water I'd been bouncing through. The same path to the same sandbar. The same spot where my foot had come down, on something that wasn't sand. They pulled him out. A little boy. My age. Maybe younger. His body was pale. His hair was dark. It clung to his face, dripping, hanging in wet strands. I watched them carry him to the shore. I watched a woman fall to her knees. I watched people crowd around, then step back, then crowd around again. I didn't understand what I was seeing. Not really. I knew something bad had happened. I knew that boy wasn't getting up, but I didn't connect it to the feeling under my foot. Not then. I'm 47 now. I have kids of my own. I've taken them to pools, to lakes, to the ocean. I've taught them to swim. I've watched them bounce along the bottom, just like I did. And sometimes, when they're in the water, I remember. I remember the feeling of a nose under my foot, the curve of a cheek, the fine hair flowing between my toes, the way it moved in the water, like seaweed, like something alive. I remember the name they called, the panic in the voices, the way they pulled that boy out of the water, right in front of the island, right where I'd been standing. And I wonder, did I step on him? Did I feel him under the water, under the sand, waiting to be found? Did I touch the body of a dead child before anyone knew he was there? I don't know. I'll never know. I don't believe in ghosts. I don't believe in spirits or hauntings, or things that go bump in the night. But I believe in memory. I believe in the things that stick with you, the things you can't shake, the things you feel in your body 40 years later, like they just happened yesterday. I can still feel that hair between my toes, the way it moved, the way it wrapped around my skin, the way it held on. I've never told anyone this story. Not my parents, not my wife, not my kids, but I think about it. Every time I put my feet in the water, every time I see a child swimming alone, every time I hear a parent call a name too loudly, too frantically, too late, I think about the boy. I think about his face under my foot. I think about the hair flowing between my toes, and I wonder if he knew, if he felt me standing on him, pushing him deeper, walking over his body on my way to the island. I'll never know, but I'll never forget. So, 3 stories, 3 people, 3 moments they'll never forget. If you enjoyed this, hit like. It helps the channel grow. Subscribe if you want more real stories. New ones every week. And if you have your own creepy story, drop it in the comments. Maybe the next video will be about you. See you in the next one.